And then what'd he say? And then what you do? Ooh, girl, I would have died.
It is the only food that koalas eat. They have no natural protein.
No way! Stop it! Oh my!
The word marsupial is from the
I
Latin
know! Yeah, what?
reading.
Oh, I'm just making some milkshakes. Milkshake?
Paws with claws adapted for climbing in the country of Australia.
Watch your show on any TV in your house with Iris, the new HD multi-room DVR from Rev TV. Start watching in one room and pick up right where you left off in another. Call to get Iris in your house today.
Dr. Myles Munroe, his wife, and several others were killed in a plane crash at the Grand Bahamas shipyard today.
Dr. Munroe is our foundation. He's the visionary. He is the driving force behind everything that we've done, and he's been the inspiration for all of the people here in this boardroom.
We are at the point in history where transition is taking place. And no one is deciding that. Life is deciding that.
News tonight, as news of the tragic death of Dr. Myles Munroe continues to send shockwaves throughout the country and the world. Prime Minister Perry Christie has pledged to show leadership by moving quickly to find out what went wrong on Sunday afternoon and make policy changes if needed. Munroe, who is the president of Bahamas Faith Ministries International, his wife, and 7 others died on Sunday afternoon when their Lear jet crashed into a crane in the Grand Bahamas shipyard. The Prime Minister says he visited the crash site upon his arrival in Grand Bahama today. He spoke with reporters on the sidelines of the 2014 Global Leadership Forum in Freeport, which went on today despite yesterday's tragedy. Vonique Toot has the details.
Dr. Myles Munroe once said, "The greatest tragedy in life is not death, but a life without a purpose." Amid the shock and grief that followed his tragic death on Sunday, thousands of people here in the Bahamas and abroad remembered the purpose-driven life of the prominent pastor and best-selling author. BFM officials said in a statement today that Munroe, his wife Ruth Ann, Senior Vice President Richard Pinder, youth pastors LeVard and Riddell Parks, their son Joannan, and another person were headed to Freeport for the Global Leadership Forum when their jet crashed into a crane in the Grand Bahamas shipyard and exploded on impact. Captain Stanley Thurston and co-pilot Farkin Cooper also died in that crash. Freeport residents stood in the pouring rain in shock last night as authorities sifted through what one senior police officer called a mangled mess. At the 2014 Global Leadership Forum in Freeport today, pastor of BFM Freeport Patrick Roll said he will never forget the moment he got that dreaded phone call.
Somehow this one seemed surreal. And my immediate action was to find his kids and find out where they were. Where Pastor Sheena was, Dr. Pinder's wife, to advise him what had happened. It still seems unreal, but of course we must carry on. If we can talk to him now, he would say, I'm not dead, I'm still alive, because I have some 38 books that if you want to know me, if you want to know God, if you want to know about the kingdom of God, if you want to know about prosperity, it's there because I'm still here.
Prime Minister Perry Christie told reporters he and Aviation Minister Gladys Hannah Martin visited the crash site today because of the horrific nature of the accident, its implications, and those involved.
So we wanted to go to the site to get a sense of what could have gone wrong, because at the level of the government, the minister has the responsibility of overseeing any investigation that takes place, and most certainly ensuring that whatever we do is compatible with all of the international civil aviation standards. And so that investigation is in progress.
The Prime Minister says government must show leadership by moving quickly to find answers and make policy changes if necessary.
We must ensure that wherever the answers takes us, that if it has policy implications, we are able to effect whatever changes we have to, using this as an example of it.
After visiting the crash site today, Hannah Martin announced that investigations will begin in full force on Tuesday when U.S. officials arrive in Freeport. She says they will try to locate the jet's black box.
Tomorrow we expect the Bombardier, who is the manufacturer of that particular aircraft, and because it was a U.S. registered aircraft, the NTSB will be here tomorrow also. And so tomorrow there'll be a coordinated effort between the Bahamas Civil Aviation Authorities and the U.S. NTSB and the manufacturers, and they will begin to move forward, for example, in the issue of the cockpit voice recorder and locating that and see what information that it gives.
Amid claims of bad weather, Deputy Director of the Civil Aviation Department Ivan Clear told reporters pilots were given clearance to travel from Nassau to Freeport on Sunday.
The weather was good enough for them to fly yesterday. Of course, sometimes the weather deteriorates and the pilots would have to make a decision, but they were giving they've been given weather updates as they would have come in, and it would have been up to the pilot to accept an approach or decline the approach.
Meantime, Christie says he is overwhelmed by a feeling of loss, telling reporters he has been informed that Radel Parks was pregnant.
I had this feeling of this tragic, unpredictable loss of life. And it's so final in the sense that a husband and a wife, in terms of Myles Munroe and his wife Ruth, a husband and a wife in terms of the young pastor and his wife and their child. And I'm told to make it even much more acute, the wife was pregnant. So it's an incredible kind of situation.
Munroe has been described as one of the most globally recognizable religious figures our nation has ever produced. Former Prime Minister Hubert Ingraham said in a statement this afternoon that he last spoke with Munroe in an airport lounge in Tanzania. He says he was an inspiration to thousands of Bahamians and countless admirers of his teachings around the world. Reporting for NB12, I'm Vonique Toot.
While the nation mourns, questions have arisen over what led to the tragic accident. While it is still too early to say, officials confirmed much of Grand Bahama was covered in severe weather that included heavy and blinding rain. Jasmine Brown has more in this report.
Today, weather officials revealed what type of weather Munroe's plane met in Grand Bahama, insisting that it was likely a white squall of rain.
Hours before the deadly crash, the Department of Meteorology issued a severe weather warning for the northern Bahamas. Chief Climatological Officer Michael Stubbs says that weather brought a squall line that spanned from Bimini to Abaco.
When we talk about a squall line in particular, it's almost like it's analogous to a curtain hanging and just moving or closing in, because it's an extended length of heavy activity occurring, of showers and thunderstorms. And in this thunderstorm, or in this squall line rather, you can have change in wind direction rapidly, what we call wind shear. And that is also a major concern to aviators or the flying public when you have this kind of wind shear. Yes, it would have presented some problem for persons moving from south to north, that is, moving from New Providence to the northern Bahamas area.
Stubbs says it's unclear how much visibility was reduced, but he said the Met Department is gathering that information as a part of the investigation launched by the Department of Civil Aviation. But Stubbs did say the department followed its standard protocol as meteorologists issued weather reports in 6-hour intervals to pilots.
Now, these aerodrome forecasts give the indication of what is to be expected once the front approaches or a squall line approaches. And so therefore, in this forecast, we talk about the cloud types, the basis of the cloud. We talk about the possibility of rain showers or thunderstorm, and we also give a forecast interval when it would occur.
While the meteorology department continues to assist with the investigations, Sky Bahamas CEO Randy Butler says he is saddened by the loss of his mentor and friends. Butler says he had known pilot Stanley Thurston for years and called him an outstanding and experienced pilot. Butler says bad weather is something all pilots face. Butler, who served as an aviation investigator, says answers will not be instant in this case.
So we don't look and just say, did the pilot do something wrong? We go back. We look at the equipment. We look at the weather. We look at the air traffic system. We look at everybody that's been interacting with that to find out what happened, because the goal of finding out what happened is not appropriate blame, but to make sure it does not happen again.
Butler says he hopes this latest aviation tragedy is a wake-up call for the industry.
In a time like this, we always had to let the accident investigators do what they know how to do best because they have the facts. But I am in the business. I know what happens out there. We still have the call on the government to take a serious look at the industry. The industry is inherently safe. As you see, we move a lot of airplanes.
Reporting for NB12, I'm Jasmine Brown.
In the wake of Munroe's shocking death, former parliamentary secretary in the Ministry of Works, Renward Wells, says he will take his mentor's advice and accept full responsibility for the controversial signing of a letter of intent with Stellar Waste to Energy in July. Wells fought back tears today as he revealed that the last advice his senior pastor gave him before his death was to accept responsibility and not point fingers. He says he will do just that.
I plan to follow that, and I just did that. He said accept responsibility, total responsibility for one's own actions. And even though you may be able to point fingers, you don't do that. You accept responsibility for the advice you receive. The advice you receive and the actions you took.
And so you plan to accept full responsibility for this situation?
My signature, my signature is on that. Absolutely, absolutely, and it was good for the Bahamian people. And he said to speak to the good of what it meant, and let that be it.
Wells was fired nearly 1 month ago, 3 months after Prime Minister Perry Christie asked him to resign for signing the LOI for a $600 million plus landfill without cabinet approval. The Bamboo Town MP says he remembers visiting Munroe's home to seek advice on the LOI affair.
He hugged me and he said, my son, he said, you are safe now. He said, you're safe here. You're safe now. And he gave me much advice. Some of it I have yet to act on. And this tragedy, in a sense, has caused me to re-examine a few of the things he said to me about leadership, about being responsible, about not pointing fingers, about accepting, as he always taught, accepting what it is that you have done, that the primary responsibility of a leader is always to be responsible and to accept responsibility for one's own actions.
Wells says Munroe pointed out that he accepted the call to be a servant of the Prime Minister, the PLP, and the Bahamian people. Therefore, Munroe advised him to do whatever his leaders asked him to, as long as it was not immoral. Wells, whose eyes were red from crying, also recalled wise words uttered by Munroe during a ceremony held recently to honor Pastor Dave Burrows.
Pastor Myles, at that gathering, called up all of the young persons in the church and had everyone stand behind him. And he says, this is my product, my work. He says, now I can die. I think Carlton played that. He said, because I would have done what it is that the Lord had called me to, in a sense. I'm paraphrasing some of the things he said, but that was the essence of what he was saying.
And that touched you?
Very much so.
When NB12 returns, Dr. Myles Munroe remembered around the world, and a look at some of his more memorable recent public remarks. Stay with us.
We are fixing our kitchen,
building an addition,
paying tuition.
We are coming home.
Switching banks can sometimes be complicated, but not at Commonwealth Bank. We want you to come home, and we'll make it easy for you.
When I switched to Commonwealth Bank, they helped me consolidate all of my bills, and with one low interest rate, they were able to lower my payments and make life easy again.
Switch to Commonwealth Bank now and take advantage of consolidation loan options, like no payments for up to 60 days.
We asked.
And we listened. Commonwealth Bank. It's what we have in common.
At Henry F. Store Electric Company, we supply all your electric needs for any size project, from residential housing to luxury hotels. We can help you achieve just the right look, from doorbells to chandeliers, table lamps to ceiling fans, wire, conduit, panels, dimmers, switches, plugs, and even tools. And don't forget light bulbs. We have those hard-to-find energy-saving fluorescent bulbs and more. Henry F. Store Electric, number 135 Mackie Street. Over 50 years of reliability, service, and low prices. We also ship to the Family Islands.
KFC Nassau is seeing green. Crisp, garden fresh greens in our new salads. Made with all white meat chicken, these are salads done right. Try the classic chicken Caesar salad or the new original recipe salad. Tender original recipe chicken, premium greens, cherry tomatoes, carrots, and cranberries with the great KFC flavor you love. Only at KFC Nassau. Salads have never tasted so good.
In today's world, things are constantly changing. So the one thing you can depend on to stay the same is quality, savings, and value. At Solomon's, you'll get real savings with unbeatable prices on everything your family needs. Solomon's, real quality, real savings, real value.
Fine Threads is the place to shop for all your men's clothing. From casual to formal wear, we've got you covered. Choose from brand names like Jordan Craig, PJ Mark, John Adam, and more. Looking good was never more affordable. Drop by one of our 4 convenient locations in Nassau, or check out our online store at FineThreads.com, where shopping is made even easier. Fine Threads, for the man with good taste.
Are you going home to stress? Are you scrambling for money to pay your bills? Well, you aren't alone. 80% of the people around you have less than $1,000 in savings. Fidelity is the only bank rewarding Bahamians for responsible borrowing and healthy saving habits. If you want to get off the treadmill and make a difference to your life, Fidelity's debt consolidation loan has a savings plan which pays 5% interest and has competitive rates and terms. Fidelity, we're good for you.
Folgers Instant Coffee doesn't just taste great, it looks great too, with an easy open flip-top lid that makes easy even easier. Folgers Instant Coffee, the taste you love in an instant.
This portion of the news is brought to you by Scotiabank Gold MasterCard, the new gold standard of cashback.
Welcome back. Dr. Myles Munroe's tragic and shocking death has gained international media coverage on almost every major news station. Celebrities are sharing their heartfelt messages on social media, mourning the loss of a leader who traveled to different countries, met many people, and touched many lives. Simone Davis reports.
Breaking overnight, a jet crashing in the Bahamas, all 9 people on board killed.
A private jet going down while landing in the Bahamas, killing all 9 people on board, including a prominent pastor and his wife.
Overnight, the deadly scene in the Bahamas, this private jet upside down and mangled in a shipyard, crashing while approaching to land at the Grand Bahamas International Airport in Freeport late Sunday. All 9 people on board killed. Among them, the prominent evangelical pastor, Dr. Myles Munroe, and his wife Ruth.
Dr. Munroe was a pastor, teacher, administrator, author, father, husband, and motivational speaker. He appeared on many international television shows and shared his love for his country and the Bahamian people. After the tragic plane crash, those once inspired by Munroe and members of the Bahamas Faith Ministries family took to social media to post photos of themselves with Dr. Munroe, sharing the lessons he taught them and giving condolences. Gospel singer Yolanda Adams shared this heartfelt message on her Facebook page. My heart is extremely heavy upon hearing of the passing of my dear friend, Dr. Myles Munroe, and his family and staff, an encourager and inspirer to all he knew. May the Lord grant solace and comfort to those who mourn with me. Dr. Munroe was also trending on Twitter last night as people quoted his books and inspirational sayings. He once said his purpose on earth was to teach others how to find the leader within themselves.
I was born to transform followers into leaders and leaders into agents of change. I was created by God, sent to this earth to help the follower discover that trapped inside of them is a great leader.
In his last interview with NB12, Dr. Munroe told reporters that his ultimate goal was to ensure that all of his people are able to become leaders in order to make the Bahamas a better country. Reporting for NB12, I'm Simone Davis.